Welcome to the deep dive. It's something we all kind of bump up against, isn't it? That feeling when, what we say is important. Things like family or health, creativity, it just doesn't quite line up with how we actually spend our days.
Yeah.
If you've ever felt that little hum of inconsistency, that disconnect, and wished you could get some clarity without getting totally bogged down in self-help jargon, well, you're in the right place.
Okay.
Today, we're diving into exactly that, this gap between our stated values and our lived reality. We'll explore, why it happens, and maybe more importantly, how we can start to understand it better.
And hopefully bridge it a bit.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe find a few of those aha moments along the way.
Okay, so let's unpack this. What's really interesting here, I think, is that this disconnect, it's not just surface stuff. It can actually start to erode our sense of self,
How so?
We begin to feel this subtle unease,
Yeah.
right? A sense that we're not quite aligned, like we're not living according to our deepest selves.
Yeah.
It's almost like a slow leak in our personal integrity.
Right. Right. And it's more than just some vague feeling, isn't it? This confusion about what really drives us. It can make everyday decisions feel, well, huge.
Monumental.
Like, should you chase that promotion? It means more money, sure, but it also demands even more of your time when you tell everyone quality time is what matters.
Exactly. Or do you pour energy into that passion project, the thing that brings you real joy, even though it might not be the most financially secure path right now?
Yeah. So why does this happen? Why the disconnect?
Well, if we look at it psychologically, think about cognitive dissonance theory. You probably know it.
Yeah, the basics. Actions clash with beliefs. Makes you feel uncomfortable.
Exactly. But here's the interesting twist for this conversation. Instead of always changing our behavior to match what we say we believe,
We change the belief.
we often subtly adjust our stated beliefs to justify what we're already doing.
So those values lists people make sometimes, like my top
Yeah.
5 values, they might actually be more about making us feel okay with how we are living rather than guiding us towards change.
That's a real possibility, yeah.
So if just stating what we think we value isn't really the answer or isn't the whole answer, how do we get closer to understanding what truly matters? The values that are actually, in the driver's seat.
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it raises another important point. What if values aren't these fixed things we just sort of discover, like finding treasure? What if they're more dynamic, something we actively create through how we live? You don't become a good guitarist by just reading about guitars, right?
Yeah.
You practice, you play.
Sure. Makes sense.
Well, maybe values like, say, courage or compassion aren't just abstract ideas either. Maybe they're cultivated through acting courageously or being compassionate, even in small ways, day after day.
So values as actions, not just words.
Exactly. And this connects to some philosophical ideas too, like the existentialist view on authenticity.
Hmm.
The idea isn't finding some pre-existing true self, but rather that we create who we are and what we value through the conscious choices we make.
Okay. So if our values are revealed in our actions, our patterns, how do we get better at actually seeing those patterns? It's so easy to just get swept up in the day-to-day and not notice the underlying currents.
Absolutely. And that's where some deliberate kind of self-exploration comes in handy. Consider trying something like, let's call it a values in action journal.
Okay, what does that involve?
Instead of writing down what you want to value or think you should value, try documenting moments where you made a choice, especially a choice where you felt some kind of internal conflict, or moments where you had a strong reaction. Was it anger, frustration, a sense of being rushed? And maybe even pay attention to physical stuff like, did your jaw clench? Did your heart race?
Huh. Why focus on the feelings than the physical stuff?
Because those reactions, those little internal flares, they point towards what's actually important to you in that moment, even if it contradicts your conscious beliefs about yourself. And the goal here isn't self-judgment. It's about becoming a curious observer of your own responses, like a scientist studying a phenomenon.
That's a really interesting way to frame it, using the sometimes uncomfortable feelings as signposts, not just noise.
Exactly.
You mentioned another way to explore this too.
Yes, another angle.
Yeah.
Try a thought experiment. Some call it the desert island scenario, but maybe let's call it the remote retreat test. Less dramatic.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
Imagine you're moving to a very remote place, limited space, limited resources. You can only bring a handful of personal items beyond the absolute bare necessities for survival.
Right.
What do you choose? Think beyond just practical tools. What would feel absolutely essential to your well-being, to your sense of self in that isolation?
That really forces you to cut through the clutter, doesn't it?
It really does. Someone who immediately thinks, I need my paint or my guitar has to come, might be revealing a deep, fundamental need for creative expression, right?
I was just thinking about books.
See? Maybe that reveals how much you value learning or escape or stories. So this kind of imaginative exercise, it can bypass our usual rationalizations and justifications and tap into something more fundamental and helps reveal what's really, under the hood.
Okay, so putting this all together, it sounds like figuring out our values isn't like a one-time event, like checking a box. It's more of an ongoing investigation. And it requires
What?
honesty.
Honesty with ourselves, definitely.
Yeah.
Humility, maybe. A willingness to look at those discrepancies, the gaps between word and deed, without harsh judgment.
And courage, too, perhaps.
Courage to experiment, yeah.
Yeah.
To try different ways of living, different choices, and see what genuinely resonates, what feels authentic deep down, and maybe compassion for ourselves when we find those contradictions.
Because perfect alignment, that's probably not realistic, is it?
Probably not. And maybe it isn't even the goal. Perhaps the goal is more about gaining that clear understanding of the values that are actually shaping our choices right now.
So we can be more intentional.
Exactly. So we can live with more intention, more authenticity. And honestly, that clarity can bring a really profound sense of inner satisfaction.
Okay, so maybe one final thought for everyone listening. Think about one moment, just one instance, where maybe your actions didn't quite line up with something you say you value. Don't judge it, just notice it. And then maybe just notice your internal reaction. What did it feel like? Just plant that seed, see what grows.
A small experiment in observation.
Exactly. Thanks for taking this deep dive with us.